Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Kidney Coach YouTube channel. I am naturopath Fiona Chin, co-founder of Kidney Coach and co-writer of the Kidney Disease Solution. And I'm joined today by the amazing, wonderful, beautiful Emily Cahill. Emily is part of our Kidney Coach team, an integral part. I don't know what we'd do without her. Don't go anywhere, Emily. Emily is a registered nurse. She works at a large cardiovascular unit specialty clinic here in Melbourne. She's also a fully qualified naturopath with a special interest in oncology and kidney disease. You will see Emily's face. She often writes our blogs and she's on almost all the videos that we've done here on the Kidney Coach YouTube channel. And if you ever send us an email, good chances are Emily is one of our qualified naturopaths. We've got a few that work in the team there that will get back to you and help you discern whether you can take certain supplements with certain nutrients. And if you ever are on the program and you want to refine it, then the person you will have a consult with is Emily. She has been trained by Duncan and myself and is the only qualified kidney coach and kidney disease solution qualified practitioner out there to help you navigate that program if that's something that you're doing. And if you're not and you just watch our videos for good information, welcome. So today, we wanted to cover off COVID because we're a year and a half, 2 years into, is it 2 years? I want to cry. Quite. 2 years into the global pandemic where life feels like it's been put on hold. And one of the things that we know when the virus initially came out was that it potentially had greater risks for those with kidney disease. And we were seeing people with kidney disease and diabetes and obesity and all those things that are the comorbidities that go with chronic kidney disease were having a potentially worse time with COVID and ending up more likely to be on ventilators in hospitals. So Emily and I just wanted to come back, and now that we're 2 years in and now we've got some more research to actually have a look at, does kidney disease put you at a higher risk of adverse effects from COVID? What does that actually mean? What is the mechanism behind that? And potentially what are some things that you can do if you are on dialysis or in later stages of kidney disease to circumvent, prevent, treat, and work with COVID. So Emily, why don't you start off? I think everybody knows what COVID is, but why don't we just we won't get too technical there, but let's just cover off the basics for people. And hopefully in 10 years time, when people are looking back at this, they're like, what's COVID? Hopefully it's gone from our environment by then, but who knows?
So COVID-19, the actual virus is SARS-CoV-2, and basically it attaches to ACE2 receptors in the body, and then it's got these little spike proteins on it which attaches to the receptor. The virus then injects its DNA into the cell, and that then allows it to continue to replicate within the body. And I think we're all pretty aware of the symptoms that can come along with it. For some people, they may be completely asymptomatic, so not have any symptoms at all. Some people have mild symptoms, and then all the way through to people who have end up with acute respiratory distress, end up in intensive care on ventilators, all the way to dying as well. So there's a very wide spectrum of how it can manifest in different people.
And tell me about the statistics between kidney disease and COVID. If you've got kidney disease, is COVID going to be a bigger issue for you than, say, someone who's completely robust and healthy?
Yeah, so in terms of the risk factors for severe COVID, initially, right at the beginning, they didn't really count kidney disease as one of the strong risk factors. They more so were looking at things like high blood pressure, obviously age, diabetes and those sorts of things. But then, what we've seen over time is that chronic kidney disease is up there with one of the higher risk factors for having severe COVID-19. So other things as well, age. So age is probably the strongest risk factor of all. The older you are, the more likely you are to become more unwell. But then chronic kidney disease is up there too. And in terms of the studies, they've mostly looked at kidney disease from stage 3. So there's not a huge amount of statistics or information about people in the earlier stages of kidney disease and how that plays out in terms of risks, but definitely from stage 3 onwards, with people on dialysis being the highest risk. And then also people who've had kidney transplants being, really the second highest in terms of kidney disease. And then, grade 4 to 5, and then grade 3 sort of coming down in that kind of direction. The other, I guess, risk factors, and that's part of the reason why people with kidney disease are at higher risk, because as Fiona said, they are more likely to have some of the other comorbidities. So things like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, potentially obesity as well, and a weakened immune system. So you've kind of got a, triple, quadruple whammy there, I guess, of risk.
And what is it about the SARS-CoV-2 virus and the kidneys that make it, for instance, a common cold, and if you've got kidney disease, isn't probably going to knock you around maybe a little bit more than, someone who's got a robust, healthy immune system. That kind of just makes logical sense. But why is it specifically kidney disease being such a massive risk factor for a more serious bout of COVID? What is the connection there between COVID and kidney disease?
So part of it is that, so as I said, so the SARS-CoV-2 virus attaches via ACE2 receptors in the body. We have ACE2 receptors in our lungs, so that's why often people get a respiratory type illness, but we also have them in other areas of the body, and the kidneys are one of the organs that have a large number of these receptors. So that's sort of one part of it, that there can be direct viral damage to the kidneys because of the virus itself. They don't believe, so, in having done autopsies and things like that on people who have died from COVID, they can find and do find that there is the spike proteins within the kidneys. So they do believe that that's part of it, that direct damage, but they don't think that that's the complete reason. And it's probably more so the systemic effects of COVID that then have a flow-on effect to the kidneys that causes a lot of the damage.
So let's talk about those systemic effects that COVID can have and why that's causing so many complications.
Yeah, so one of the things for people who are severely affected by COVID is that there's this really exaggerated, really massive inflammatory response that the body goes through. So, when we think about why people get sick from COVID, it's not just the virus itself, but it's actually your body's response to the virus that can go on to cause a lot of the problems. So we can get what is called a cytokine storm. So cytokines are inflammatory type mediators within the body that in large amounts can cause damage. And so we know that people with kidney disease already generally have a degree of inflammation. So we're adding in extra inflammation to something that's sort of already there. So therefore, it makes sense that there's going to be more damaging. We know that people with kidney disease already have what's called a hypocoagulable state. And basically that just means that they're more prone to clotting. So their blood's a little bit stickier. So COVID as well can cause this increased clotting within the body. And that's why, in some cases, people have strokes, people end up having heart attacks and things like that with COVID, but also there's these really small blood clots that actually can block the vessels, so the capillaries throughout the body, and that includes in the kidneys as well. So we're getting reduced function of the kidneys purely for that reason as well. And then I guess the other part of it is that COVID can cause acute kidney injury. So that's when we're talking about kidney disease, we've got chronic kidney disease, and then we've got acute kidney injury. And that's when there's been some sort of, can come from a lot of different things, but an acute reduction in kidney function, acute damage to the kidneys. And we know that people with kidney disease are more susceptible to acute kidney injury from any cause, and that includes from COVID.
Yeah, I think that was the big one that I was looking at too, is just that COVID can damage the kidneys in its own right. So if you've already got inflamed, damaged kidneys, and then you've got this virus on top, and then you've got chronic kidney disease, and then you put an acute kidney injury on top of it, and yeah, that's not great for anyone. So, okay, so we definitely know that if you've got kidney disease, COVID's going to likely be a bigger issue. So what do we do about it? Are there things that people can do to, supplements, nutrition that people can take as a preventative from maybe not getting the virus, but just maybe stopping so much inflammation or the endothelial damage? Or is there anything in there that may be worth people just taking just as a general precaution that's got some studies behind it? Or yeah,
so I think probably the number one thing is the more, well, generally speaking, like obviously, there are some people with no underlying medical conditions who become very sick from COVID, but the more well you are in yourself, so the better you're taking care of yourself to begin with, then the better you are able to deal with COVID if you were to become infected. So I guess that's the first thing. And that, yeah, exactly. And with those risk factors, looking at what you can do to help manage them. So if you have diabetes, making sure that your blood sugars are well controlled. If you need to lose weight, work on that. If you've got high blood pressure, work on your blood pressure. So anything that you can do sort of from that point of view is going to be beneficial. And then I guess some of the other things as well are looking at improving immune system function. So we know that people with kidney disease can have a reduction in immune function. And this is, people, like often we think about people who've had transplants because they're on immunosuppressant medication as being in that risk category, but just having kidney disease reduces your immune function. So looking at, things like zinc and vitamin C, which can all help with improving your immune system. And then as well, if you as I said, people with kidney disease already have a higher level of inflammation. So what can you do to help to dampen that down and help to improve inflammation, with COVID or without COVID is going to be important and beneficial. And I guess probably one of my favorite things there would be turmeric. It acts against or reduces all those inflammatory cytokines that we know are increased and upregulated when someone has COVID-19. So also dealing with the inflammation side of things and the immune function side of things as well would probably be a good place to start.
Yeah, and I want to just make it clear, we're not saying this is how you treat COVID. This is just things to be healthy and robust. So if you happen to get COVID or another virus or bronchitis or whatever it is, it's those things are just general. You look after yourself, you're going to fare better with whatever virus comes through your body. So I also love vitamin C if you think you're in a risk factor. And Emily and I did a video on vitamin C a couple of days ago, and that was because very specifically of its antioxidant effect, which will help bring down inflammation, but also its effect on the endothelial tissue, because we know it's that endothelial damage that really progresses kidney disease. So if you're really protecting the endothelial tissue in the kidneys there, if you happen to come across a virus, then that would be nice and protective as well. And vitamin D is the other thing I'd love to, and I actually haven't gone and looked at this, but we seem to notice that the virus, especially in Australia, and I watch it through the UK and the UK particularly, that when the weather gets warmer, the virus numbers seem to go down and so do the death rates. And I can't believe that is a coincidence. And we know how amazing vitamin D is. And Emily and I did a video a little while ago on vitamin D on regulating immune function. So I have to believe that adequate levels of vitamin D and sunshine have to be a bit protective there, just via the bolstering of the immune system and what we just see globally happen with numbers when the weather warms up. So that'd be another great thing. We've got a great handout. If you head to kidneycoach.com and you go to start here, on the front page, you'll see a download called 7 Great Herbs to Boost Your Immune System. It's a free download, and we've got a whole pile of great information in there of just general things that you can do to just bolster your immune system to cope with things like global pandemics and things like that. What else do you want to say about COVID-19 and kidney function, Emily? Medication? Are there any medications that if you're on potentially will make the risk of COVID worse? Is that like the triple whammies or anything like that? Have we seen any correlation there?
Yeah, so there was quite a bit of discussion at the very start of COVID about ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers, and whether people who were taking these medications were going to be at a higher risk, knowing that COVID attaches to the angiotensin converting enzyme receptor. And what it seems to be is, so whether people are at high risk, and then there was also some thoughts of whether they would be that could be beneficial for people who do have COVID. So what it seems to be, the way the research has kind of come out, is that it doesn't increase risk, and it also doesn't benefit. So that's sort of where things seem to be with that at the moment. I guess thinking about, and I'm just more so thinking about from the point of view of acute kidney injury, if people do have COVID who have kidney disease and are on some medications like diuretics or blood pressure medications, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, anything that can increase the risk of acute kidney injury at any time, it might be, worth a conversation with your doctor about whether that's something you should or shouldn't be taking at that time period. So yeah, that's probably the main thing that I would say there in terms of medications. And if you do have COVID or any virus, anything you can do to reduce your risk of developing acute kidney injuries can be super important to your kidney health.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. If you have kidney disease and then you get COVID, the most important thing to do is to protect your kidney tissue so you don't potentially accelerate your disease unnecessarily. And so if you're on our program, there's a whole pile of stuff in the book about that, making sure that if you've been following stage 1, that you go back and maybe bolster that. If you've got wiggle room to take high doses of all our protective things like CoQ10 and alpha-lipoic acid and all those things. And that's not, again, treating COVID. You're just trying to protect kidney tissue and your nephrons as much as possible to try and prevent from further damage, so you're not progressing the disease while you're in such an inflamed state. So I think any of those things are just common sense and sensible, and you can't go wrong with that. But if that's anything that you need a hand with, or you've, you or a loved one have been diagnosed with it, and you're following our program and you're not sure whether you can increase dosages and what other medications that you're on, you can always reach out to the team of naturopaths. Emily's one of them, and Rachel and even me, and we have a look at that. And then we can give you some great questions to go and talk to your nephrologist or your GP about, and just maybe having a conversation about just how to best manage that if that's something that happened. And of course, if you're diagnosed with COVID and you have got acute or chronic kidney disease, making sure that you're straight on top of that, straight to your doctor and doing whatever you need to do, because that potentially can be a more serious condition for you just with the cytokine storm. So making sure you're being proactive rather than being reactive, because prevention is always better than cure, especially when it comes to the kidneys. Healing that tissue is possible, but it takes a little while. So I like the being proactive. And so I think that's what we really wanted to do in this video, right, Emily, is just to say, yes, okay, you might have some more issues if you've got kidney disease, but you can be proactive. The healthier you are, following that really great alkalizing diet, keeping your inflammation levels down, exercising, meditating, taking certain herbs and nutrients, all of those things will help to potentially circumvent you from having maybe not as severe reaction to the virus as maybe you could have otherwise, but to make sure that you're taking it seriously and looking after yourself. Anything else you want to add there, Em?
No, I think we've covered it.
Perfect. Well, hopefully you found this useful. This wasn't to scare anyone, and I know how controversial some of the COVID topics can be, and we obviously didn't talk about vaccines or anything like that. We leave that as a choice for you to take. And if you've got something like kidney disease, definitely talk to your doctor about that. But yeah, like I said, the healthier you are and the more robust you are going into any pandemic, regardless if you've got kidney disease or not, potentially the better the outcome will be for you. So I hope that's been useful. Again, if you find the information that we put out useful, if you want to make sure that you get notified anytime we put up a new video, if you hit the subscribe button below, you'll get a notification anytime we pop up a new video. We try and have new content at least once a week or a little bit more regularly when Emily and I are not flat out doing all our other things. And yeah, if you like this, make sure you give us a like. And if there's any topics you want us to write about, or if you have any comments, leave them below. You can also join our Facebook community. It's www.facebook.com/kidney coach. We post on there every day. Emily's checking those every day. I check them as well. And also, if you head to www.kidneycoach.com, you'll see there's great articles on there. Emily and I writing blogs every week of just great content. We're just trying to give you guys as much free, up-to-date content as possible so you can stay well and be well. So thanks again for being part of our community. Emily, thank you for your time and your wisdom and information on this. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.